Hello everyone, welcome back to part 2 of my how to make gold in the best way possible using old content raids. Now this is a way of making gold that doesn't involve the auction house, doesn't involve, the random chance. Well, there is some random chance, but not as much as the auction house. You don't have to learn how to use, things like TSM or anything. You can basically just run these instances and you'll make gold. Right now we're going to focus on Mists of Pandaria in this video. So, the main difference between the Cataclysm video and this one is not only did I have to do the Mists of Pandaria raids on Heroic, or in the case of Siege of Orgrimmar on Mythic, I also had to do them all through LFR. So if you go and talk to Lore Walker Han, who's in, the Vale, whatever, in Mists of Pandaria land, if you go there and talk to that guy, you will be able to quickly get to every raid without actually having to travel to each raid, which does save you a lot of time. It saves you enough time to actually make up for the most part, going to most of these raids. But without, too much into it, let's start with each raid. So we'll start with the Terrace of Eternal Spring. So this is a very short raid. You can actually get to it on the way from, the typical Horde and Alliance portals on the way to the Vale. So I would just do this one anyway, because essentially when I did Terrace of Eternal Spring on Heroic, I made 969 gold in roughly 5 minutes, and that's because there is a little bit of roleplay going on in that you have to kind of wait through. But even with that amount, the amount of money I made was about 193.80 gold per minute, which is some of the highest gold per minute ratings that I've found so far. It's one of the best. I think it's top 3 or 4. So Terrace of Eternal Spring is definitely something that you can do, make a good chunk of money. I mean, 1,000 gold is pretty good, especially for 5 minutes. The next thing that you can do is Mogu Shan Vaults. So Mogu Shan Vaults has a lot of little things in it. I actually probably could have got this one done faster. It took me about 13 minutes, and I made 1,310 gold, which averages to about 100.8 or so gold per minute. It's not terrible. It's not the greatest, but it's not terrible by any means. It's a decent way to make some money. But the main problem with doing it through, just the normal Heroic way is that it is going to take you quite a while to fly all the way up to where the actual entrance to the raid is. So maybe not one that you want to do as part of your normal rotation. Unless you're just looking for transmogs, or if you're looking to get yourself some set stuff for your own transmog use, then it's kind of worth doing just for fun. The next one was Heart of Fear. So Heart of Fear actually is pretty good as well. This one is almost worth flying all the way out there to get. It actually could be worth it if you wanted to start with Terrace, go to Vale, do your LFR raids, and then go to Heart of Fear on the way out, and then Earth back to wherever you want to go. But yeah, it's not bad. I made 1,638 gold in about 10 minutes. So, obviously that's about 163.8 gold per minute. That's really good. Heart of Fear is one of the last 2 raids that you will actually get a consistent amount of gold and drops from everything you kill in the raid. So it's one of the last ones where you have to do the trash to actually make the gold. But it took about 10 minutes. There's not a whole lot of roleplay, so you can really get through it pretty quick without a whole lot of waiting around, which is nice. I can't think of anything really where you have to wait around at all. It's pretty much just a go. So it's one of the ones that you can really optimize it, and you can get that time way down if you really want to. I'd say, if you optimize everything completely, you'd probably be able to knock it out in 7 to 8 minutes. And then obviously the gold per minute there is, starts to go up a lot. The next one for the normal heroics is going to be Throne of Thunder. Actually, it's the last heroic raid on my list. Throne of Thunder is the last raid that you can do heroic, or last raid before you can do mythic raids. And this raid was pretty long and boring. There is a lot of roleplay in this raid. The only positive to it is that you can actually ride your mount around through a good chunk of it. So you can pull a lot of trash and then you just kind of burn it down in one spot, which is nice. There are some spots where you're not able to use them out right away because, there's that. There's like the wind tunnel parts where you have to make it through with the winds pushing you. Depending on your class, you may be able to get through that fairly quickly, or you may not. Me using the monk, it took a little bit. Overall, 2,993 gold in about 25 minutes. So that boils down to 119.7 gold per minute. So not bad by any means, but there are some parts in there, like the Hydra boss, that is just a nightmare. You have to sit there and wait for it to spawn ahead and stop doing a tantrum, and it just takes a little while. But other than that, it's not bad, and you can get some transmogs from it. The last one for just regular raids without LFR, so you can do Siege of Orgrimmar Mythic version, and it is actually the worst the worst raid to do for gold per minute. There's actually only one worse. There's only one raid worse than Siege of Orgrimmar, and it's Siege of Orgrimmar LFR, but we'll get to that one. So Siege of Orgrimmar, I managed to make 2,824 gold, so less than Throne of Thunder somehow. In addition to that, it took me 52 minutes to complete, which is not counting all of the bug issues that I experienced, because this thing took me over an hour. So if you want to run this for any reason, you're only going to make about 54 gold per minute, probably at about best. And the other problem is there's a lot of bugs that kind of screw this whole thing up. Plus, they have the issues with waiting for. You have to wait for RP when you get to the third boss or the second boss. You have to wait for roleplay when you get to the boss. Actually, no, it's the third boss, the fourth boss. You have to wait for RP on the fifth boss. The sixth boss you can go straight through. The seventh boss you can go straight through, and then you get to the one with the. Actually, the eighth boss you can run right through. The ninth boss is, I believe, the treasure chest boss, which is terrible. That takes forever. And then you have to do a long run to get to the dinosaur boss. After that, you have to do another long run to get all the way back to the goblin boss, which takes a while because he just sends everything at you and it's slow. And then after that's done, then you have more RP, and then you can get to the boss that is the buggiest of all of them. So the Paragons, if you kill the first one too quickly, if you kill these guys too quickly in general, there is a high probability that they will get frozen in place. Typically, three of these enemies come out at once. If you kill the first one too quickly, the next two won't even come out of in there invulnerable. They won't turn hostile. You'll never be able to kill them, and you'll just be stuck there, like I was. And your only options are to either hearth out or wait till, basically until the one boss that's there enrages and manages to actually do enough damage to kill you, which could take a while. Generally about 15 minutes. Yeah, I had these things bug out on me twice. Then I figured out that you just have to kill them very slowly, wait until all three of them are out, and then kill one at a time, letting the other one come in before you kill the next one. And yeah, it is horrible. And then, of course, the last boss, it is absolutely just is boring. It's there's a lot of RP before it and during it. Yeah, I did not. It's not worth it. Don't do it. The whole thing is a waste of time. 52 gold is not worth, or 54 gold per minute is not worth the time invested at all. So now we'll move on to the LFR version. So the LFR versions have that huge advantage of being able to, basically you just go in with Lore Master Han, and he has a vendor right next to him, so after you get out of each one, you just sell what you got, and you don't have to travel anywhere. You just immediately go into them. The only downside is if it takes you less than an hour to get through 10 of these, then you'll have to wait until that hour passes so you can finish 10 of them. Because there is like the hard lockout of 10 instances per account per hour. Starting with Tourist of Eternal Spring, I was able to do that one, make about 766 gold in 5 minutes. So pretty close to I mean, it's about 40 gold per minute less than the regular version, but still 155 or 153 is a pretty good. It's a pretty good number to be able to make. And again, you may be able to optimize it just slightly, because I was able to get through. No, it took about 5 minutes on normal too. So now you're not gonna be able to optimize it too much because there's a lot of RP, but you can definitely get it done and make a decent chunk of gold. Next one was Mogu Shan vaults. Made 498 gold in 5 minutes. There might be a slight bit of optimization you can do with this because it's less than 100 gold per minute. I made about 99.6 gold per minute. Not exactly efficient compared to the other things that you could be doing. I mean, it will get you some gold. Mogu Shan Vaults Part 2, I was able to make 565 gold in about 8 minutes. And that took me to about 70.6 gold per minute, which is garbage. Definitely not worth doing. Don't do it. But the next LFR raid was Heart of Fear. For Part 1, I was able to make 775 gold in about 5 minutes, which is 155 gold per minute, so that's a pretty good haul on that one. Heart of Fear 2 gave me 744 gold in 5 minutes, which is 148.8 gold per minute there. So between the two of those, you can definitely make roughly 1,200 gold or so, maybe about 13, which is pretty close to the normal version or the heroic version of the raid. It's about 300 or so less, but still a pretty high amount, especially since it's only taking you about 10 minutes to do, which is about as long as it takes to do the normal one. You might be able to optimize it a little bit, but yeah, it's still a pretty good amount of gold that you get from those two. The next one, Throne of Thunder, this is one where it's kind of a split. So the first part of it, the Rise of Zandalari or Last Stand of Zandalari, I think that part took a little bit longer than it needed to. So that one, I only made 735 gold and took me 8 minutes. So that's 91.8 gold per minute, which is a bit under the 100 gold per minute mark that I want to go with. Throne of Thunder 2, Part 2, 613 gold in 9 minutes. Again, that is very low. It's only 68.1 gold per minute. So not recommended to bother doing that one. However, there are some good things that you can do there. If you wanted to start that raid and just kill the first boss, because it starts you at the turtle boss, that is not a bad idea. But don't move on to the Hydra boss because it will take too long. And that's the main problem with it. If you just do the turtle boss, you can make about 300 or so gold, and it will be a lot easier and quicker. The next one, Throne of Thunder 3, I made 615 gold in 6 minutes, so 102.5 gold per minute. It's actually not bad. That's a fair number. It's not great. You can still make more in other places, but it meets the limit. Throne of Thunder Part 4, the final part, got 684 gold out of that with 6 minutes of time invested, about 114 gold per minute. So that's above the threshold of 100 gold per minute that I'm looking for, so that one's worth doing. And then we get to Siege of Orgrimmar, and yeah, Siege of Orgrimmar is not something that I would ever want to wish upon anyone. It is a awful, terrible, horrible mess of a dungeon. It took me 534 gold, and it took 10 minutes to get through. So that was 53.4 gold per minute. So that is awful, just flat out awful. 625 gold in 12 minutes for Part 2, which is still only 52.1 gold per minute, and that's even worse than the first part. And then you get to Part 3, and you can make about 489 gold in 10 minutes, and that's even worse. That's 48.9 gold per minute. And then the final one, that you would think would be easy and would be quick, you can make 623 gold per minute or not 623 gold per minute, you make 623 gold in 25 minutes, which puts it at 24.9 gold per minute, which is the absolute worst raid that you can run. So it shouldn't be a surprise, but Siege of Orgrimmar, LFR, and regular Siege of Orgrimmar are both the absolute lowest yielding raids of all. So stay far away from those two. In addition to, there's that bug that I mentioned that will hold you up and make things worse. Yeah, so if you want to make some raw gold, generate some gold for your local server economy, this is one of the ways to do it, is to go through the instances I mentioned. Terrace of Eternal Spring is great to do, normal, heroic, or LFR. Ideally do LFR and do heroic for that, because you'll get a decent chunk of change. Heart of Fear is good to do on both LFR and heroic. Plenty of gold in that. Throne of Thunder, not so good. There's only one part of Throne of Thunder. That's the last part of Throne of Thunder. That's actually pretty much worth it. The third part kind of could be worth it, but not great. And that's it. Don't touch Siege of Orgrimmar. I wouldn't recommend going into Throne of Thunder that much either, but you can actually get above 100 gold per minute if you try. So that's pretty much it. Go ahead and leave me some likes, comments, and subscriptions if you like. If you have questions, if you have things you want to add, put it on the comments. I would appreciate that. I enjoy reading through the comments and seeing what everybody has to say. Sometimes I get valuable feedback, and sometimes I get people that just want to be trolls. Whatever. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Until then, try not to die.